Don't withdraw. Go out. Talk to the right people. Join the right groups so that you find out, oh, okay. And then be curious. What are you doing to get through these times? Nobody is talking about long-term strategies anymore. Your strategy better be in pencil, right? Because it's going to change a bunch. Strategy will give you a plan to move forward, but it's the unplanned that leads to growth. So have your ears open, especially in these weird times, is there a pivot you can make, like a one-off, something else that's really close to what you do that you could add that can be a new revenue stream?
This is Small Business Celebration, where we introduce you to successful small business owners at their place of business so that you can learn something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business and get your next big breakthrough.
26, 27, 28, 29. I'm almost to the interview. I'm almost to the interview.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of Small Business Celebration. We're going to be talking about, how do you get the best minds around you to help you grow your business? We're also going to be talking about how do you build an organizational structure so that your company becomes known for its services instead of a service-based company only. And to guide us through that is Tim Terrio, the owner of Terrio Physical Therapy and Fitness. Welcome to Small Business Celebration.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And for Visioneers who don't know who you are you and what is it that you do?
Tim Terrio. I founded Terrio Physical Therapy 28 years ago.
You have to take off your shoes to count?
Yeah, exactly. And once it gets past 10, it's really hard. Exactly. So, started Terrio Therapy years ago. I was the only employee at that time. Things changed dramatically over the years. We now have 265 employees and 12 locations and a bunch of contracts, and it's grown a lot.
It's come a long way since your days with the Dodgers.
Yeah. Totally different world.
I don't know how baseball works. It's like minors and sub-minors and AA, AAA. And what's Bakersfield's team at the time when it was the Bakersfield Dodgers?
So there's the Major League,
right,
which everybody talks about. AAA is the next one down.
Right.
AA, Single A.
Right.
And that's now where it ends. It used to go down to Short A and Rookie Ball, but they consolidated that a couple years ago. So Bakersfield was the Dodgers Single A ball club up until I think 93. I was here in 89 with them.
Wow.
That's actually how I came to Bakersfield.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Did you do sports medicine for the team? Or
yeah, I grew up in Helena, Montana, and I didn't think I'd ever leave the state of Montana. And my dad at that time was working at a custom lead smelter. So when I was wrapping up high school, he's like, well, I can get you a job. The working end of a shovel. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna go to college. And he said, both my high school counselor and my parents told me college isn't for everybody. You need to just go get a job, especially one with a good pension, which is straight poor dad of rich dad, poor dad. And I said, well, maybe, but I wanna go try. Years later, I graduate. I did work at the smelter during the summers, which is the reason I stayed in college, because
it's a good education.
Yeah. Shoveling ore 8 hours a day is not.
No.
I was like, back to wanting to be in air conditioning, right? It's like,
sure.
No, forget this.
Right.
Hard hat, coveralls, steel-toe boots, gloves, respirator. This isn't fun. The smelter actually ended up closing, and there was 300 people out of work in a small town.
And that'll kill a town.
And they all went from, it was a union plant, so they were making good money, to lining up to try to get a job at Walmart or some of the chains.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure about that advice you gave me back?
Sure.
Graduated from Montana State,
Okay.
1988, but in 87, I got hired to be the Great Falls Dodger, which was rookie ball
Okay.
trainer. So I did that 87, 88, and then 89, they said, hey, you graduated, you want to do a full year? So I said, yeah, and they said, Florida or California?
Oh.
I said, sweet.
California beaches, sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. And at that time, Dodger Town was in Vero Beach, so I was thinking,
Oh.
so I'm in spring training in Vero Beach going, sweet.
Right?
And we landed in Bakersfield.
Welcome to fog and lots of beach.
Lots of heat. Games start later because of the outline of the field. It was a whole learning experience.
And what prompted you to start the physical therapy business?
Well, after that year with the 89 here, I thought, I don't know that I want to do this the rest of my life.
Right.
Quit the Dodgers, went back, finished my master's degree, and then went to PT school.
Right.
Just so I could work in air conditioning instead of 100. And
Sure.
if you want to know the truth, that's what it is.
Right. Go to college so you can get an air conditioning job.
Jobs. And also evenings off. You know,
Right.
baseball was all at night and every day.
And you're on the road
All-
constantly.
yeah, constantly on the road. And I think that year from February till November, I had 3 total days off. Because whenever the team practices, you got to be there.
Right.
Rehabs, training.
What was the physical therapy community like in Bakersfield at the time?
There was 2 main ones. Went to work for a local PT group for about 3 or 4 years and realized I'm a horrible employee. I'm a much...
You know, I've known you for like an hour and a half, and I can tell you, a horrible employee.
I'm a horrible. It's knowing your strengths. I was like, man, I think I could do this better. So that's when 1998, I opened my first clinic. And my thought at that time was, if I could just replace my income, that would be good.
Right.
If I could beat that a little bit, it'd be awesome. So I was the only employee.
Right.
And had a volunteer receptionist, did all the work myself, and launched. So, but the thing I had going for me was having already worked at a couple other places, I had some network with doctors. Back in 94, I was working for another company and got a call from Dr. Tivnon, who's now retired. And he said, hey, would you be interested in helping BC football team?
Right. Bakersfield College,
Yeah,
right?
Bakersfield College. And he said, but it doesn't pay anything. I
Right.
said, that's all right, I'll volunteer.
Right.
And so I'd already met
And that's
him.
how all the connections started to
That's
come
all
through.
it all starts, yeah.
Yeah.
So those early connections, I think, are key to business when we, like, getting to know people and them know you.
Prior to this conversation, you and I spoke on the phone, and you said something that I'm sure you stole it from somebody, because we all
Probably,
do.
yeah.
But you said something about horses that really clicked in your mind that helped you grow the business from 3 to how many locations now?
11 actual physical locations. But Memorial Hospital, we have contracts at multiple schools.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that phrase about horses?
It's a phrase from a friend of mine that I met in 2005. And he had a quote from his dad that the horse only gets fat when under the farmer's eye. Of course, he says it in Italian, sounds a lot cooler, but and I understood that, and I think a lot of owners have that view, and I think it's actually true. As you're growing it, as you're starting it, you have to be everything.
Right.
Like the book E-Myth Revisited, right?
Right.
You are all those things.
Right.
You have to be everything.
Right.
But as it started to grow and develop, and he'd say that statement, and I thought, well, that's true, but at early stage, but I'm more interested in owning a stable of thoroughbreds than I am
A single
one fat horse, right? So that's the way I look at it now. Is like, I know 2 things about myself. 1, I'm a horrible employee, and 2, I don't like to manage. Whenever I start something, my goal is I'll get it up, I'll get it going, but then I'm bringing somebody else in that likes to manage, that's their skill set. So,
Got it.
So I always keep that growing in the back of my mind, like, who could I bring in? And I tell people from the beginning, like, look, I'm not going to manage this. I'm going to get it going, and then I'm on to my next thing. So.
And if you're developing your business and it's growing to the point that it's expanding and time for a new home office, perhaps you should buy a new house. And to do that, I recommend that you call Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier Agent with Watson Realty. Born and raised and never left Bakersfield, give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. And Visioneers, if you've got a question, you've got a thought, something you'd like to learn about here on Small Business Celebration, reach out to us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and your question could appear just like Eric, who asks, how do you build an advisory board to attract the best minds you need for your business? Because this is the key.
I think it really starts with self-awareness, right? And I think that goes with life, that the more self-aware you are about what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, then just own it, right? Most people start business because they're a good technician at something.
Right.
They're good at doing something.
Or they're trying to solve a problem.
Yeah, solve a problem, and I think I have a solution. So you get going, and then, but you need to understand there's a huge jump from that to being an entrepreneur. So when I got to 3, I started to understand how hard it was to keep track of what was going on. But I had met a guy, LandPro, Chris McGlasson was my first IT guy, right?
Right.
So guy working for him, Randy Tippett, just in asking, I started talking about how do I see what's going on in my other locations without physically, I physically can't go there,
Right.
but I need to look and
Right.
see. So we got together and he said, well, so Randy, I got together and we created this thing called TNET, which was just Excel spreadsheets that I could have my therapist do their evals on.
Nice.
Then they would send them to me so I could see what was going on. So that got me to 3, but then I was like, there's no way to get past 3.
Right.
Then a couple years later, we decided, all right, these are running fairly smooth.
Right.
Let's try 4.
Right.
And about that time, I think I was at 4 clinics, I got invited to be in YPO.
And
So-
what is YPO?
Young Presidents Organization.
Okay.
So back in 2005,
And in general, who is YPO and what do they do?
they're an international organization.
And the qualifications to get in?
It used to be a certain number of employees, certain revenue number, but Brent December at StructureCast was a member down in San Fernando, and they asked him if he could start one in the Central Valley. So he was starting the San Joaquin chapter, which
Right.
still is going, bunch
Right.
of great people in that. So he had a little leeway of getting people in.
Nice.
So because I was at 4 locations and had 50 employees at that time,
Right. You
I qualified. And that's when the acceleration really happened, right? Before that, it was just trying to find brains that I knew, like, I didn't understand technology. So
How did you find them?
just Chris was, when I first started up, I had him, my accountant, Rick Millen, still my accountant 30 years
attorney?
later. My attorney's been Rob Noriega since the beginning. So, and then Holly Culhane was vital early.
And what does Holly do?
She owned PAS and Associates back then. It's now sold, but
And she's your CPA?
she was my HR person.
HR, okay.
So I knew nothing about HR. I said, what do I do? She goes, well, you need a handbook. I was like, all right, what is that?
Right.
So-
right.
Other than signing them as an employee, I didn't
You
really
can
understand it.
emotionally hug your employees. You can't physically hug them.
All the rules. And every year you see that thing growing. And I always told people, like, you know why this grows every year is because somebody does something stupid.
Right.
And you have to add something new in
Right,
every year.
right,
So,
right.
I mean, it would be great if it was one page, but the world doesn't work like that.
So your brain trust that you continue to use today has come based on referral from other people that are successful in their own industry.
I think the big thing before, if you're thinking about going into business for yourself,
Or you're fixing all the things that you've done the last 2 years.
yeah, you just networking out, talking to people,
Right.
talk to other business owners, ask people who they use for what. Just be curious about it. And then usually my experience over the years has been you'll start spotting trends, right? So the more questions you ask and the more you'll start to hear the same names over and over again. And then it's not oh yeah, I'm going to use this person. Then it's the interview, right? Go in and say, this is what I'm doing. Let me understand how you work. First of all, you need to know your purpose, right? Simon Sinek made why famous, but what is the real reason, first of all, that I'm here on this planet? And second, what's my real reason or purpose for starting this business? And then the second thing that I work with on people that I do is like, what are my core values? So if you have just those 2 pieces of information, then you go in to meet with an advisor and it's like, do their core values and their purpose align with yours? Then you've got a match, right?
And you also have the ability to say, I'm really bad at this.
Right.
Can you fix this?
That's the self-awareness, right? Like, look, and I think that's one of the funniest things. Like, the successful people are the ones willing to do that. Go, look, I don't know anything about this, so
Right.
somebody help me. So then when I joined YPO, all of a sudden I'm with uber successful people, right?
Right.
Big companies. And I started listening to them, right? And I was like, wait a minute, that's not how they teach, physical therapy owners to run their practices.
Right.
And I said, maybe we should switch our mentalities. But just those, not even like, it wasn't presentations, it was just hanging out with those people. There's the rule about if you want to know where you're going, look at the people you're with. That was such a mind shift for me. Like, man, these people, and I took the same approach, right? They'd start talking about something, I'd be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
So can you fill me in? But that honesty and that humility
Right.
leads people to open up, right? And be like, wow, that's cool. This is somebody who wants to learn. You run into the know-it-alls and people just walk away like, there's a know-it-all. They're not gonna listen to advice anyhow, so I'm not gonna give it to them.
So you've been pumping iron. You've been getting stronger through all the physical therapy and fitness that you've been doing here at Terrio. Perhaps it's time you get the word out about your business too. And for that, call Minimum Press of Bakersfield, the sponsor of the Visioneer Game. Do you need yard signs, foam boards, banners, or signs on the street? Give Minimum Press of Bakersfield a call at 661-323-7757 or visit them at mmpbakersfield.com. And when you call, ask them about their 24x18 yard sign special for the month of July 2025. Give Minimum Press of Bakersfield a call at 661-323-7757 or visit them at mmpbakersfield.com today. And Visioneers, if you're not familiar with the way the Visioneer game works, I have a random word generator here on my phone. I have no idea what the random words the generator is going to create, but more importantly, neither does our guest. And our guest has taken each of 3 words that I give him and somehow associate each word with his business. Now, Tim, you do realize that if you get any of these 3 words wrong, there's going to be 0 physical therapy allowed anywhere in the world, and everybody's just going to be a hobbling mess, and everything will fall apart and be destroyed.
Blame me.
Okay. So you have to get these right.
Pressure's on, I'm ready.
All right. Your first word is colleague.
It's vital in business, right? Finding the right person. So the colleague that pops the mind's Ken Berman. Joined me 12 years ago to run the operations for me and the finances. And it's just been a godsend. And then my other colleagues, we've got, what are we up to now? 10 or 15 people that have been with us over 20 years.
Congratulations.
Right. So a lot of the original crew is still around all these years later. And
you must be doing something right.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
Don't tell them. All right.
Don't let my secret out.
Very good, very good. That's 1 for 1. Well done, you. Okay, your second word is endure.
Endure goes right along with resilience, and it is the key to business. If you're not adaptable and resilient, it's a no-go, right? You have to roll with the blows because you never know where they're going to come or where they're coming from, and sometimes you just grind and endure till you get through. What's the old saying? If you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop.
Very good. That's 2 for 2.
Nice.
Well done, you. Okay. It all comes down to
For the physical therapy world, I got it.
If you don't get this right. Bicycle.
Well, 2 things. Number 1, they're really good for the physical therapy business when people fall off of them. That's always really good. We don't recommend it, but if you do. And then we use it a lot. I would say the thing about bicycle is, there's some research out of Sweden years ago that with arthritis, bicycling is one of the best things you can do because it's a shearing force, not a compression force. There is research to back that cycling is fantastic for hip and knee arthritis.
Very good. That's 3 for 3. The world is safe at last. And since you've had this life-changing experience, who would you like to thank for this?
Well, I got to shout out my buddy Jim Damian, now with Linian.
Right, former guest of the show.
Yeah, I knew Jim back. He was one of the YPO members that I met.
Right.
And anytime I have any question about technology, he became my go-to. And now we're working on a couple projects together again. Now that he's back. Welcome back, Jimmy. Welcome back to the entrepreneur world.
All the AI system stuff that you can possibly imagine, he's helping with.
Somebody to make sense of it all, yeah. I used to always talk about I stopped worrying about how to do things,
Right.
and I shifted to who.
Nice.
Who do I know that can do it, not how to do it.
Right.
But with the AI world, it's so new and there's so much talk about it.
And nobody is an expert. I mean, really.
There's no such thing
Right.
because it's too new. But I found out that I needed to learn a little bit about the what, so that I knew when somebody was telling me what's actually real or what they thought was real.
Right.
So now I look at, let me have some base knowledge of this so at least I can have a decent conversation.
Right.
Then find the who, which was a pretty short decision with Jim because it was like, all right, Jim, I need your help.
And that brings us to our second Visioneer question, which is also brought to you by Mike Saba, a Zillow Premier agent with Watson Realty, selling Bakersfield homes since 1992. Give Mike Saba a call at 661-203-8406 or reach him at mikesaba1@icloud.com today. Visioneer Melissa asks, how do you build an organizational structure that becomes a company known for its service rather than a service offered by a company?
Well, first of all, Mike Saba, one of the things you got to understand about business is people talk about 6 degrees of separation. In
Right.
Bakersfield, it's 1. Usually,
Well, if that were the case, I would have had you on season 1.
yeah, well, you think, but it's just, Mike's a great dude. He's been around forever, and those are the people that are tried and true in Bakersfield, right?
Right.
That's a name that'll pop up a lot when you start talking real
Right,
estate.
right.
So back to the question, though, I actually had this conversation, and I went to a presentation by, I think it was a professor from UCLA, business professor. And I came back after that, read his book, talked to the guys, came back and had a meeting with my leadership team and said, all right, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm no longer interested in having a physical therapy company. They were like, what? Are you closing? I said, no. I want a really well-run business that does physical therapy. And they were like, well, we don't understand what you're talking about. I said, you will, because we're going to start changing how we do this and align it. So I think from the structure standpoint, when you look at the numbers of business in America, 55% of small business have less than 5 employees.
Right,
Don't need to worry about company structure, right?
right.
Then the next 31% have less than 19. So now you got to start working in teams. So again, we talked about span of control for the owner, but you can only really have about 6 direct reports, 6 to 7. Any more than 7,
Right.
things
Because
start
then
getting
you
long.
start getting overloaded.
Yeah, you don't have the time to follow up with more
Right.
people than that. So that's how when I go in and do business coaching, I was like, let me see, how many direct reports do these people have? How many do you have? And the number of times it's like, well, 14. It's like, and you're wondering why things are getting shaky?
Right.
And that's actually what Ken brought to us when he joined us was, I was the typical entrepreneur just outgrowing problems, right?
Right.
As long as we keep running up, as long as we can keep the revenue ahead of the expenses, we'll be okay.
Right.
Which is not a good idea.
Right. Right.
He came in and brought the stability, the budgeting, the actual business structure, which was vital to the importance. Think about your business or you as a jar. The leader is the first bottleneck of the company.
Right.
The company can only grow to your capacity,
Sometimes the business has to be able to get around the owner in order to be
Right.
able to function.
especially down the road, right?
Right.
It's founder's trap.
Right.
It's called the founder's trap, where you don't delegate and you are the entire business, which means no vacations, no time off, on the
Right.
phone all the time. But once your bottle starts getting full, you either turn off the business coming in and just stay that size. Your next option is, I'm going to open a spigot at the bottom of my bottle and I'm going to start filling somebody else's jar. I can only do that 6 times. I can only have 6 jars that I fill. And then I have to pay attention. So I look at business owners like the brain of the human brain. I need constant feedback of what's happening out. If I'm just sending out messages and nothing's coming back, I don't know what adjustments to make.
Right.
Once you get a business and you start having multiple tiers, you need to know like which one's getting full, which one needs more help, which one do I tighten down the spigot, which one do I open up, keep them all balanced. But if it gets down 3-4 levels below, the brain still needs to know what's going way down the bottom, because you could have a manager who's one of those bottles that's not doing their job, and that whole division starts dying off. And that's how we built Terrio. Every time, and I don't know, 80-20 rule, I guess, is where I got it from. Or it becomes the 90-10. So as soon as a physical therapist, I'd hire a therapist, as soon as they got to like 90% capacity, I'd start hiring the next therapist. By the time I found that next therapist, me and the therapist would be past 100%. We could shift and start filling up the next person.
Right.
And then I did the same thing with facilities, that once a facility got to 80-90% of capacity of what it could hold physically, I'd start looking for the next location and just strategically cut off all the surrounding areas around. Remember, the original was
Right.
the 1 mile loop. This is the first time in 28 years I've had a downtown location. I finally said, all right, let's go downtown now, because it's the next logical hub of where we want to be. So
Part of the success that you've had with the physical therapy business is tilt. And I'm sure Visioneers have been waiting for me to get to this, because this has been prominently placed on your shirt, and we are just now talking about it here on the show. And what is tilt, and why is it so important to you?
TILT it's an acronym for Tomorrow's Innovative Leaders Today. And it came out of, as we were growing the company, Terrio Therapy, it was, how do we take therapists and elevate them up to clinical managers? Because we had to keep filling those roles.
How are you teaching your physical therapist employees to become leaders?
Right, leadership training. So then I started, several years ago, I started two mastermind groups of business owners that I work with. And I kept hearing this thing that, man, there's just no young leaders coming up. And I was like, you realize they're not born and they have to be made.
Right.
So I developed the idea of TILT, formalized it outside of Terrio so that other businesses could send people in. So a year-long program, each month is a different leadership topic, and I bring in a different business owner each time to talk, not a book review, not a regurgitation, but how do I apply these lessons into what I do? Nobody has all the answers, but the more you can read and just take a couple nuggets of each one and start building your tool chest.
Right.
Now, those people said, what's next? So now I got to come up with a TILT level up.
Right.
And then launch a new cohort where we're going to bring in emerging leaders in companies, middle managers and on up. And I even have a couple business owners that jumped in TILT and said, hey, look, I could use help understanding this leadership dynamic.
And if Visioneers, business owners, want to learn more about TILT and get involved, how do they do that?
Our webpage is integrate3p.com.
Okay.
Or we're on social media too. And the next cohort will start in September. So
September 2025.
Yep. So we're starting to take names for that. And I just went back to all these business owners that are in my groups and said, hey, if you want to send some people. So that was the first cohort, was direct referrals of people like, and it's gotten great results. Like, man, what did you do? This person's actually starting to think like a leader.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
It's no secret that there are a lot of business owners right now that are struggling. What do you say to the business owner that is having a hard time, and give them encouragement and let them know, yeah, you're going to be able to make it?
It is that, I think it's surrounding yourself with other business owners because you share. The one thing about business is it's lonely at the top, right? And when you're the decision maker, you can't really go home and talk about it because nobody understands what you're talking about. You can't talk to your employees about it because they don't understand it. But when you can find these groups, like I think you're still in EAKC, right?
Right.
There's EAKC, there's Rotaries, there's a lot of business groups that you can join where you're around like-minded people.
Right.
And then you find out that everybody else is going through it too. But when you're around people, there's something about that communal okay. Because it's easy as an owner to sit back and get isolated. I think the inspiration is don't withdraw, go out. Talk to the right people, join the right groups so that you find out, oh, okay. And then be curious. What are you doing to get through these times? Nobody is talking about long-term strategies anymore. Your strategy better be in pencil, right? Because it's going to change a bunch. Strategy will give you a plan to move forward, but it's the unplanned that leads to growth. So have your ears open, especially in these weird times, is there a pivot you can make, like a one-off, something else that's really close to what you do that you could add that can be a new revenue stream? And look at those to diversify. Don't go crazy with it, right? Like, I'm a physical therapist, and I think I'd love to have a bar and restaurant. No, not unless I know somebody that knows how to do that. Read as much as you can, but read positive stuff, which is really hard to find, right? You go on the social media and it's all negative stuff. So,
Unless you go to Instagram at small.business.celebration.
oh yeah, of course. Then it's all positive. It's all good. Which should be a daily read, right? But if you don't find it there, there's apps with motivation. I'm not a big affirmation guy, but it works for some people. But I found just quiet time. Disruption's going to be positive. I mean, disruption's going to always be there. So can you make it positive disruption?
Tim, this has been a real treat. Thank you for joining us here on Small Business Celebration.
Absolutely, I love it. I mean, I think it's just that you reach that point in business where my joy comes if I can see other businesses grow. That's just the legacy of it, right?
Thank you, and we enjoy having you as a part of this because you are definitely a stalwart in the community here, and it's been a privilege having you on. And if Visioneers want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
The quickest way is just Terrio at Terrio Therapy. That's my main email account. They keep trying to give me other ones, but I got enough to think about that I can't remember 10 emails. So just Terrio at terriotherapy.com.
Okay.
Hit me up, and I could direct you to whatever works for you.
Sounds good. And I'll be right back with my final thought. Prioritize later. Prioritize later. The comedian Jimmy Carr has a section of his stand-up routine that he goes through and he has banter back and forth with his audience and gives his hecklers a chance to shout out, and he has a lot of fun with them in the process. And one particular heckler once said, "Hey Jimmy, what's your philosophy of life?" And for a very brief period of time he got serious. He said, "Prioritize later." He went on to talk about how all the successful people in life, whether it's been personal life, it's been business life, even religion, prioritizes what the future is going to look like so that the things you do today matter so that you can have the things you want or do the things you want to have in the future. It's the whole concept of everything we do today impacts tomorrow. So therefore, prioritize later. I hope you enjoyed our conversation this week here on Small Business Celebration, and I hope you learned something that you can use today to grow a strong and profitable business. And we'll see you here again next week when we celebrate another small business making a big breakthrough.
The worst thing about having your name as the company name is when somebody says something bad about it, which luckily doesn't happen much, but if you're if your brain is tied it together, when do you take it personally and when is it the business? But you just have to separate to know, is that something I did wrong or something the business did wrong? The other worst part is you're on the hook for everything, right? Something goes wrong, you're the one that gets, your name's going to be on the piece of paper coming from the attorneys, right? So, and it's going to be there twice. It's going to be the company name, and it's going to be your name right underneath it. I know my business has made a positive impact when people don't know who I am, right? There's nothing better than if I'm wearing a Terrio Therapy shirt and I'll go in someplace, they'll be like, "Oh, you work at Terrio?" I was like, "Yeah, kind of." And then to hear the stories about, "Oh, my dad went there," or my husband or my wife went there and they did an amazing job. I was like, that is awesome, right? Because it's not just me. That's what I get the biggest juice out of, is when I hear people talk about, the company. I think the best thing about owning a business is being in control. The worst thing about being in business is being in control. There's nobody else to blame when it doesn't go right. But I think if you own that from the beginning, like, all right, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it for this reason. If you're going to need that to carry your motivation through the hard times. And there will be hard times. There is no such thing as making through without adversity. Everybody knows that in life, but it's even worse in business. It's just extrapolated. The biggest mistake I see with people trying to get in shape, they overdo it. I want to lose 20 pounds like this week. So I'm going to go from doing nothing to trying to run every day, I'm just going to go hit a high intensity workout place, which is awesome because you're going to see us in physical therapy when you tear something. I love that, but it's not the way to do it. Plus, most people have a negative impression of exercise. You're reinforcing that by hurting yourself. When you go overdo it and then you can't move for 3 days, your brain's going, don't do that again. Baby step into fitness. I think the thing that changed everything when it happened to my business was learning from big businesses. Specifically, the sooner you start setting up systems, the easier it is to scale. I think a lot of people get into controlling everything and don't put systems in place. And then it's just your tribal knowledge that's driving everything, not the system. So now you're the slave to your business, not to a job. Still a job. The reason professional baseball athletic trainers can't find jobs is you get so specialized. I have two friends that spent 20 years in the Dodger organization. But just like with players, when there's a regime change, when there's an ownership change or a GM change, you can get bumped out. And then you're in a world where you are stereotyped as a baseball trainer, not as an athletic trainer. And baseball is big in America, but football is where all the money is. So if you can't be a football athletic trainer, all the college jobs are gone. You can't move laterally like baseball to football or football to hockey because they're so different in what you're dealing with. What is one thing that nobody tells you about when you're going to physical therapy is how broad of a field it is. There's orthopedics, sports, pediatrics, neuro, acute care, working in hospitals, extended care hospitals, nursing homes, and you have to learn all of that. I was an athletic trainer, so I was like, man, I'm just going right into this ortho sports thing. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot more to this thing. And by the way, all that's on the test too. So you have to be able to pass the test with all the knowledge.